What if, what if the most expensive leak in your construction business isn't actually, material waste?
Right.
Or like a sudden weather delay that shuts down the site, or even a busted piece of heavy machinery.
Yeah, those are bad, but they aren't the worst.
Exactly. What if the biggest financial drain on your entire operation is literally just the muddy, 5-minute conversation your superintendent had at 6 a.m. this morning?
It is a terrifying thought. I mean, it really is. But it is the reality for almost every growing contractor out there right now. We are just, we're so conditioned to look for losses in the obvious places.
Right. You look at the balance sheet, you see a spike in lumber prices, or you see the overtime hours from that concrete pour that went completely sideways on a Friday.
Yeah, the visible stuff.
Exactly. It's visible. You can put your finger right on the ledger and point to the problem. But when you step into the actual daily operations of a growing firm, that clear ledger just completely falls apart.
Because the biggest leaks are entirely invisible. Today, for this deep dive, we are looking at a massive stack of operational analyses, workforce surveys, and market intelligence focused squarely on the construction sector.
And the overarching narrative is just crystal clear.
It really is. Poor leadership and broken communication on the job site are not just, soft skill HR problems. They are brutal, hard-to-cash drains.
Oh, absolutely.
We are talking about a hidden tax that could easily be costing your business $100,000, or substantially more like every single year.
And we really need to frame who this impacts the most, because it isn't the massive billion-dollar conglomerates with massive HR departments.
No, not at all.
And it isn't the two-person remodeling crew working out of a single van either. It's the businesses in that $1 to $10 million revenue range.
Yes, the scaling phase.
Right. If you are sitting in that bracket, you are right in the crosshairs. You are scaling up, you're taking on more complex commercial or residential jobs, and you are hiring a lot more crews.
But the brutal truth is, the operational style that got you to 1 million will absolutely fracture your business when you try to push to 10.
It's just a completely different game.
It is notoriously difficult. You are shifting from being the master electrician or the lead carpenter who can oversee everything personally to being a true executive. You have to rely on layers of management.
And at this stage, companies start unknowingly falling into these incredibly subtle, incredibly expensive leadership traps, which is exactly our mission for this deep dive. We're going to unpack the 5 daily friction points that are quietly siphoning away your profit margin.
The slow bleeds.
Yeah, exactly. We'll look at the cascade of failures, from muddy instructions at the start of the day to a total breakdown in team morale.
But more importantly, we aren't just here to admire the problem.
Definitely not. We are going to equip you with concrete, actionable strategies, both technological and human, to plug those holes, streamline your operations, and put that $100,000 directly back into your bottom line.
And to do that, we really have to start at the very beginning of the day. You cannot execute a project smoothly if the initial marching orders are flawed.
Right.
It all stems from a profound lack of clarity when expectations are set.
Let's paint a picture of how this actually happens on a real site.
Oh, please do.
So, a superintendent is standing by their truck at 6 a.m. They're holding a coffee, looking at 3 different crews. It's loud. People are unloading tools.
Standard morning chaos.
Exactly. They are stressed. They're behind schedule. So they just point to the drywall crew and say, hey, I need the second floor rocked by tomorrow. And then they just jump in the truck and drive off to another site.
I see this happen all the time.
It sounds like an instruction, right? But it's missing entirely too much context. It's
Okay.
basically like ordering custom materials for a job, but refusing to provide the exact measurements. You are basically guaranteeing expensive rework.
It is completely hollow. I mean, they didn't mention that the framers had to adjust the layout in room 204 because of an HVAC conflict.
Right.
Or that the material delivery for the specialty board is delayed until noon. When instructions lack that granular detail and context, the resulting confusion leads to up to a 25% project delay and a 15% rework rate.
Wow, a 15% rework rate. Let's think about the actual mechanism of that rework, because it's never just replacing a single piece of drywall.
No, it never is.
When you squeeze a timeline with bad instructions, trades start literally stacking on top of each other.
Yeah, the physical crowding.
The dry colors are rushing the framers, the electricians are stepping over the plumbers. That physical crowding, combined with the mental fatigue of trying to guess what the boss actually wanted, is exactly where the tape measure slips by half an inch.
And suddenly, a wall is closed up before the electrical rough-in is inspected.
Exactly. And we all know what happens next.
Which means you are tearing that wall down. You are paying for the materials twice. You are paying for the labor twice.
It's brutal.
But the cascading effect is what really kills you, because now your painters are delayed, which delays the flooring guys. A single vague sentence at 6 a.m. throws the entire master schedule off balance.
And there's another layer to this trap, too. When a crew is confused, they don't just stand there like statues, right?
No, they want to work.
Exactly. When they realize they don't have the full picture, maybe there's a discrepancy between the architectural plans and the structural drawings, they basically have two options. They either guess and mess up, giving you that 15% rework rate.
Or they stop and hunt down the boss for answers.
Right. That dynamic right there creates the second trap, a vicious cycle of constant interruptions.
The leader gives a vague instruction because they are rushed. The crew inevitably gets stuck. The crew then has to track down the leader, pulling them away from a critical planning task, which makes the leader even more rushed for the next interaction.
I was looking at the breakdown of the time lost to this trap, and the numbers are honestly staggering.
It's a huge leak.
This constant back and forth costs a single crew member 2 to 3 hours of focused work daily.
Every single day.
Yeah.
And when you break down the physical reality of a job site, it makes perfect sense.
Right, because it's not like an office where you just, spin your chair around and ask a question.
Exactly. Let's say a carpenter runs into an issue on the 4th floor of a build. They have to put down their tools, walk down 4 flights of temporary stairs, trek across a muddy site avoiding forklifts just to get to the job trailer.
Just ask one question.
Right. They get there, and the project manager is on the phone with the city, so they wait. 10 minutes later, they ask their question, look at the plans together, figure it out. And then the carpenter has to walk all the way back, pick up their tools, and try to remember exactly where they left off.
The physical transition and the mental context switching are enormous drains.
Enormous.
Which scales terribly. If you have 10 guys doing that, you've lost the equivalent of 3 full-time employees for the day. Overall, this friction reduces your entire team's productivity by 10 to 15%. And what happens when a construction project loses 15% of its momentum? The completion dates get pushed out, and you start staring down the barrel of liquidated damages.
Which naturally bleeds into the next massive failure point, our 4th trap. Leadership looks at the schedule on a Thursday afternoon. They see that 15% productivity drop.
And they freak out.
They realize the client walkthrough is in 2 weeks, and they are nowhere near ready. Panic sets in.
And instead of fixing the actual communication bottleneck, they just squeeze the workforce.
Yes. They set completely impossible deadlines without providing adequate resources. They don't authorize overtime pay. They don't bring in additional manpower. They don't secure better equipment.
They just tell everyone to hurry up.
They just demand that the crew works faster to make up for management's lack of clarity.
Which is practically pouring gasoline on a fire. When you force speed over a broken system, you see a 40% increase in employee stress and a 20% higher error rate.
Quality just plummets.
It completely drops off a cliff. Your punch lists grow miles long, you're handing over subpar work, and your client relationships, which are the absolute lifeblood of a growing contractor, start to severely suffer.
And more importantly, you are also destroying the actual human beings doing the heavy lifting.
Okay, let me play devil's advocate here for a second.
Go for it.
Because I know what a lot of seasoned, old school contractors are thinking right now. Construction is inherently a high-pressure, gritty industry. You're dealing with weather, you're dealing with massive, dangerous machinery, and the margins are incredibly tight.
It is not an easy job.
It's tough. So isn't it just part of the culture to tough it out? Don't workers just expect to put their heads down and push through a difficult schedule?
That is a very nostalgic, outdated way of looking at the trades, and honestly, holding on to that belief is actively bankrupting companies today.
Really?
Yes, no, they do not tough it out. They walk away. The skilled labor shortage isn't a myth. It is the defining challenge of the industry right now. The best superintendents, the most reliable foremen, the master tradespeople, they have options.
They can work anywhere.
Exactly. If you create a miserable, chaotic, high-stress environment where their time is wasted because of poor communication, they will literally go to the competitor across the street by Friday.
And they usually leave because of 2 very specific cultural failures, which are our 3rd and 5th traps.
Let's break those down.
First, trap 3. Management completely ignores the input of the people holding the tools. When companies operate top-down and refuse to listen to the field workers who actually see the practical roadblocks, they face a 30% higher turnover rate.
And Trap 5 is a total lack of recognition. Half of all employees seriously consider leaving their jobs simply because their hard work is never acknowledged.
Half of them.
If the only time they hear from the boss is when something is wrong or when they're being rushed, the psychological toll is immense.
Let's put a hard dollar figure on that turnover, because replacing these people isn't just an inconvenience. According to Smart Business Automator's Market Intelligence Report, replacing a single skilled construction worker costs between $15,000 and $20,000 in recruitment and training.
That is a devastating blow to cash flow.
It really is.
You're paying for job postings, you're losing hours to interviewing, and then you have a massive dip in productivity while the new hire gets up to speed on your specific processes.
It's just staggering math.
Yeah.
If you are losing just 5 good workers a year, just 5, because your project managers are running them into the ground, ignoring their ideas and communicating poorly, boom.
There's the 100,000.
There is your $100,000 drain.
Yeah.
Right there. You are literally paying $100,000 a year for the privilege of tolerating bad leadership habits.
And that doesn't even account for the invisible momentum you lose on the job site when a key foreman walks off and takes his best guys with him.
Oh, that happens all the time. The cost is astronomical. But this is the critical pivot point of our deep dive. We've diagnosed the disease. We see how the vague instructions lead to interruptions, which lead to panic, which leads to turnover.
The full vicious cycle.
So how do we fix the machine while it's still running? How do you transform these massive liabilities into a competitive advantage?
It has to start with recognizing the profound return on investment of respectful, structured leadership.
It's not just HR fluff.
Not at all. It's not about singing songs around a campfire. It's a defensive strategy for your profit margins. When you invest in leadership development, it doesn't just stop the bleeding, it actively grows the business.
By how much?
It can drive a 2x improvement in project delivery efficiency.
2 times?
Yes. And on the back end, that efficiency translates to a 5 to 10% boost in overall profit margins.
A 10% boost just by fixing how information flows through your organization. That's huge.
It changes the entire trajectory of a scaling business.
But here's the reality check. And I can hear every contractor listening screaming this at the dashboard of their truck right now. You cannot ask a project manager to be a proactive, empathetic leader if they are completely buried in administrative chaos.
You absolutely cannot.
You can't plan ahead, and you certainly don't have time to mentor a young foreman if you are spending 6 hours a day digging through messy email threads for a missing RFI or trying to decipher coffee-stained field reports. You have to remove the friction of the paperwork first.
That is the crucial prerequisite. You cannot outlead a fundamentally broken system. In fact, as detailed in Smart Business Automator's Market Intelligence Report, medium-sized firms leveraging process automation tools can save up to $50,000 annually just by reducing miscommunication.
$50,000 just from streamlining the communication flow.
Exactly.
So let's talk about the mechanics of that. How does a piece of software actually pull a superintendent out of the weeds so they can be the leader we need them to be?
It's about systematically eliminating that wandering around the site dynamic we talked about earlier.
The 4 flights of stairs problem.
Exactly. Think about the modern AI platforms built specifically for construction. They can automatically tag, sort, and categorize your photos, plans, permits, RFIs, and submittals.
Instead of a human doing it manually.
Right. Instead of a project manager manually filing hundreds of emails, the system centralizes it. It can take a rambling hour-long voice memo from a site walk and instantly turn it into a clear, formatted meeting summary.
Oh, that's amazing.
With distinct action items assigned to specific subcontractors.
Which directly attacks our very first issue, the vague 6 a.m. instructions.
Yes, exactly.
If the system is generating a clear, standardized summary of exactly what needs to happen and automatically pushing it to the crew's iPads, the confusion evaporates. The expectations are concrete.
And it goes much deeper than just organizing files. These systems can extract important details directly from the specs and drawings to catch anomalies a rushing human might miss.
Like spotting a clash before it's built.
Precisely. They generate draft RFI responses based on historical project data. They even analyze the schedule in real time to detect schedule risks, like a delay in concrete delivery before it blows up into a 3-week pushback.
So the project manager finally has genuine visibility. They aren't just reacting to fires all day, they are actually anticipating them.
And because this platform acts like a hyper-organized digital project assistant, anyone on the team can use natural language on their phone to search for a spec or a safety protocol.
Which means nobody is wandering the job site for 3 hours looking for the boss.
The constant interruptions are effectively eliminated.
It fundamentally changes the role of the management team. They transition from being highly paid paper pushers to strategic leaders.
Exactly. When technology handles the administrative heavy lifting, the leader finally has the bandwidth to build the human systems that actually protect the margins and retain the talent.
I love how you phrase that, because technology is just the foundation. It gives you the time and the clarity, but human communication frameworks are required to actually build the house, so to speak.
You can't just buy software and call it a day.
Right. You can't just buy a software license, hand out iPads, and expect your company culture to magically fix itself.
No, software doesn't build culture. Routines do.
Yeah.
And the most powerful human routine you can implement on a job site is the 15-minute daily huddle.
Okay, let's push on this, because a daily huddle sounds great in a textbook.
It does.
But in the real world, getting 5 different subcontractors who don't even work directly for your company to stop what they're doing and pay attention at 6 a.m. is like herding cats. A lot of contractors actively avoid it because it feels like a massive waste of time.
It absolutely feels like a waste of time to the untrained eye. But look at the outcome. Establishing this simple routine every single morning at the exact same time for strictly 15 minutes, face-to-face improves overall communication by an astounding 70%.
70%, just from a 15-minute chat.
And it reduces site errors by 10%. Why? Because you are forcing a moment of alignment. The plumbers know exactly where the electricians will be working. The safety hazards for the day are identified.
You are ensuring every single person is on the exact same page before a single tool is lifted.
Exactly.
Skipping the daily huddle to save time is like sharpening a saw. Actually, no, it's like refusing to sharpen a saw before cutting wood because you're in a hurry.
That's a perfect analogy.
It feels like you're pausing work to sharpen it, but you're actually making the work drastically faster. You spent 15 structured minutes at dawn to completely eliminate those 2 to 3 hours of chaotic interruption time later in the afternoon.
That is exactly the trade-off. The daily huddle handles the immediate tactical alignment. But to fix the long-term cultural rot, to prevent that massive turnover spike and keep your best people, you have to implement structured feedback loops and actual accountability.
What does that look like practically for a scaling contractor? It can't just be an open door policy, right? Because nobody actually walks through the open door.
Right. Open door usually translates to, I'm too busy to ask you what's wrong, but feel free to interrupt me.
Yeah, exactly.
It requires creating a formal weekly feedback mechanism. Maybe it's a structured sit-down on Friday afternoons, or a specific block of time dedicated to reviewing what worked and what didn't.
Like a real debrief.
Yes. And this isn't the boss talking at the team. It is a dedicated space for the team to report on the operational roadblocks. When you implement this, team engagement boosts by 20%.
Because you are finally treating them like experts instead of just a pair of hands.
Bingo.
The men and women swinging the hammers and pulling the wire are always the ones who see the design flaws and the logistical nightmares first. A proper feedback loop catches those problems while they are still cheap to fix on paper before they become a massive physical tear-out delay on the site.
And ultimately, that is what true leadership in the construction industry is about right now. It's about empowering teams to take ownership rather than just blindly following vague orders.
Which changes everything.
It does. When a worker feels true ownership over their specific part of the build, problem-solving efficiency increases by 30%. They stop bringing you every single minor issue for you to solve, and they start bringing you actual solutions.
Which takes a massive, exhausting burden completely off the shoulders of the leadership team.
It's the difference between dragging your entire company up the mountain by yourself and having a highly aligned team carry it up with you.
We've covered a tremendous amount of ground today. From the brutal reality of the $100,000 leak caused by muddy instructions and wandering crews, to the turnover tsunami triggered by a high-stress, low-recognition culture.
But we've also mapped the way out.
We did. Leveraging automation to kill the administrative friction, and implementing non-negotiable daily huddles and feedback loops to build a culture of genuine ownership.
It is a completely fixable problem. You just have to be willing to hold a mirror up to your own operations.
So I want to leave you with a final thought to chew on as you head back to the office or drive to your next job site today. Take a hard, honest look at your operations this week. Look at the daily frustrations, the minor delays, the rework. What if your biggest competitor isn't the firm bidding against you across town, but your own internal communication gaps and leadership habits?
It's a powerful question.
If you know a contractor who is dealing with high turnover or project delays from miscommunication, send them this episode. It could save them massive amounts of money and headaches. Hit follow on whatever app you're listening on so you don't miss tomorrow's intel. And be sure to visit smartbusinessautomator.com to learn more.